Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Michigan Adult Community and Alternative Education Association, MACAE's Member Profile Series. This is a video series chronicling the professionals within our association. A reminder that you can find the link to this video and other information at our website at www.macae.org and on our social media pages at MACAE Today, MACAE Today. I'm Patrick Brown, the Executive Director of MACAE, and I am so excited to welcome our guest for today's episode, Miss Bonnie Truhn, who is the Director of the Washtenaw Community College Adult Transitions Pathways Program. Welcome, Bonnie.
Hello, Patrick. Thank you for having me here with you today. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you. So, Bonnie, I was sharing with you a little bit about why we started this video series. It's people like you that have had a rich history in adult education, workforce development, education in general, that have been members of MACAE, and we want to spotlight you, your hard work. You're a very humble person, and we want to bring attention to the work that you're doing on a daily basis, but also your staff, and telling us about your program and the services you offer for our communities. And part of this is as we come to celebrate the 40th anniversary of our association later this fall. We're videotaping this in the fall of kind of late summer of 2023. So why don't you start by telling us, if you can, a little bit about your history in terms of your career, your educational background, and how you transitioned and ended up into the position that you are now. I say that because a lot of us in adult education didn't maybe necessarily see ourselves coming into this profession, didn't know about this profession, didn't know that we would end up here. So why don't you walk us through some of the highlights of your career and tell us a little about your story.
Well, Patrick, despite the fact that I come from a family of teachers and tradesmen, that was not my original path. Like you said, many of us come into adult education sideways, and I did the same thing. So my my path when graduating from college, I was originally planning to go to law school. I had taken the LSATs, I had done some internships, but unfortunately, the summer that I graduated, my father passed away suddenly.
Wow.
And so I decided to move home with my 48-year-old mother, who was a widow. And over the course of the next year, I ended up marrying my high school sweetheart. Another year into that, I had my older son. And so I decided that, like the rest of my family, I was going to pursue teaching because it would help balance my life. So as I'm finishing up my student teaching, I had my second son. And with the second son, I started a little daycare at my house. And then I had the opportunity to start working 2 evenings a week at Willow Run Adult Education. And so that was the start of my path in adult ed. From there, I started piecemealing, like many of us other teachers, a couple of positions within the district. And then eventually, this was at the end of the 80s recession area when all of the big three were laying off people, and they started the labs at GM and Ford. Well, I started working at GM, and then soon I landed a full-time position at Ford. And I worked at the Ford Rossonville plant in Ypsilanti for 18 years. Initially just helping develop the lab, running the lab. We served all the employees, their families, everyone from earning a GED, ESL to master's degrees. And within that, I also collaborated with Washtenaw Community College. Well, again, the recession hit 18 years later, and my job went bust, and they ended up closing all of these labs. So there was a part-time position at Washtenaw Community College as an outreach coordinator. And this was part of the Michigan Works grant back in the day. I can't remember the year now, but like 2016, 17. And so I was hired for that part-time position. So I continued to work in Willow Run Adult Ed. I had never given up my position there, continued to work there. And over the course of those few years, I did some alternative ed in Belleville. I did some teaching in Willow Run in their K-12 and alternative ed, but I never gave up my adult ed position. And so blending the adult ed position with Willow Run and this part-time position in at Washtenaw for a couple of no, actually for 1 year. And then my old boss, Ann Grieshaber, she retired and she recommended me for this position that I hold today. So the director of the Adult Transitions Pathway Program here at WCC. So
Wow. You've
that's
held
my career.
you've held numerous positions, and I think each one, just listening to your story too, the skills, the flexibility that you had to have, and just the openness to go into spaces and serve wherever you needed to. That, I think that speaks to, knowing you outside of this speaks to your leadership style. I really do think that, Bonnie. So you've had a wonderful career, have many more years to go, I know, in this space. Tell us a little bit about what have been some of the highlights in the last few years, especially working in this space. And then we'll talk about your program in a second, but kind of tell us where are things currently, and what are some of the priority areas that you've been focused on?
Well, one of the things that I always want to do is to be able to create new opportunities for both students and my staff. And so over the course of these years, in my most recent leadership position here at WCC, I've really been focused on that, building community partnerships, building our mentoring program here in the college, or in our program, I should say, and helping create this pipeline of opportunities for our students to move from the program to mentoring. And then eventually, some of them have moved into roles here in our program. You probably many of you may know Marsal Alderman and Beth Feldkamp, who had worked with us in the past. And there were others too, that either stuck with us and became full-time employees, or they moved on to other things. So I am very proud of the mentoring program, and I was able to get that funded through our foundation for over the years. Another thing that I'm very proud of is working with legislators such as Adam Zemke, who was our legislator at the time, to get the GED to school funding, so that people who couldn't afford to take the GED test when they moved it to online testing would be able to have the support through the voucher program. One of the things that another proud moment was being recognized by the governor and some of the representatives for my commitment to adult education a few years back, and then the board here at WCC recognizing that as well. But really the proudest moments come when we have our yearly graduation and our student speakers are up there speaking, and you see the families, you see the students, you hear the stories, and then afterwards, in talking with people, the appreciation they have for the work that we do. And then the excitement when you see them walking across the stage. Everyone who is in adult education shares the same excitement, just knowing that some of the struggles, the barriers that they face to be there today. Those graduations are far more valuable to me than my own graduations, my kids' graduations, the whole thing. Those yearly graduation ceremonies are really where I take the most pride in seeing the accomplishment of what our team has done over the course of the year.
Yeah, you just had yours a few weeks ago, and I was there, and it was extremely powerful. It always is so reinvigorating and inspiring, really, that to see the potential that people always have within themselves, but how if they have an opportunity to have someone help them realize that for themselves, where they can go with that and what they can achieve. I think that that's just a beautiful aspect of what we do on a day-to-day basis, is really change the trajectory of other humans' lives in some way. Sometimes that's takes a lot of effort. Sometimes it's a little more subtle, but I think that's one of the most rewarding pieces, like you said, of the work that we do. So I want to talk a little bit about your program. And you mentioned this before about you've held various positions over the course of your career, full-time, part-time, and for those that may be unfamiliar with this landscape, that is the landscape. is that
Right.
it is a lot of coalescing multiple partners together, grants together, And I want to talk about your program, but first I want to say, under your leadership, Bonnie, what you have brought to Washtenaw Community College has always had a strong tradition for having an adult program, and it has provided those communities to the services to the community. But under your leadership, especially in the last 10 years, what you've been able to bring in terms of additional grant dollars and resources to the program through different partnerships within the community college, within the community, and how you've been able to expand the staffing and the capacity at the program, I think is really a marker of your leadership. And it has taken a lot of work and a lot of time and dedication to do that. But talk about maybe your program, what you offer, the students that you serve, and how you serve kind of the greater Washtenaw area.
Well, I will go back to when I first started. I was the only full-time employee in our program. And so to the points that you were making over the course of these years, it's been through partnerships and just getting information out into the community about our program and sharing that and being open and receptive to partnering and collaborating on it on all different levels. I'm not saying it always worked out, but I'm saying that, you go out and you talk about your services and you make these connections, and then people become aware of what you're trying to do. And then they become very supportive, not just in the community, but here, even at the college. Every day I'm trying to educate everyone about what we do in adult education, because it has a unique role here at the college. And with that, so initially we offered GED programming when I came in, and it's come here, earn your GED, and hopefully you'll transition into college, but not necessarily helping students transition. So a couple of things that I really focused on was first trying to set up a pathway for our students to be able to make that transition more deliberately or with more intention. And so trying to put people in place and make these connections, even just within the college, to understand this is where they're at, this is where they're needing to go, and this is how we could do it within the structures that were there already. So partnering within the college to make that happen. And then eventually, I wanted to be able to integrate more components into our program, because we knew, well, I knew, and as I work with the staff that I brought on, we finally we knew that they need more foundational knowledge to be successful in the college once they got there. And again, we're not just trying to guide people to the college. We're really trying to help them figure out what path works best for them and develop this path, and then help support them along this path, whether it's coming to the college, whether it's going to an apprenticeship program, whether it's going directly to a job, whatever it is, really trying to work with them on an individual basis, coming up with an individual plan. So academic plan and then a career plan. And so in doing this, obviously I couldn't do all this by myself. So trying to bring people on board who are like-minded, and also passionate about serving adult education students, because not everybody is. And people have to have an understanding of who we are serving. And, we don't always know how to serve them best, because that changes over the years. Obviously, over the 35 years, who I'm serving today is not the same student I served 35 years ago. And our demographics demonstrate that too. So I'm sorry, I'm sort of going off on different tangents, but I'm going to continue to go to hopefully get this thought together. But trying to integrate the components that the students really need to be successful in whatever their next steps are, and then bringing people on board who support that. And eventually I was able to get more WIO funds to be able to do that. I was able to get more general funds, which is another portion of our program's budget, by convincing people here at the college that there's a need and that we can do this. And then the last partnership that I was able to develop was with the WISD. So as some of the other adult education programs were closing because they couldn't necessarily provide the oversight or leadership to run those programs, when we moved to the region, when we moved to the region model, then WISD approached us about contracting with them. And so with that contract, we were able to establish an ESL program. So now we have our GED pathway program and we have our ESL pathway program. And the partnership with WISD here at the college, our college foundations, working with the partners in the community, those are all things that we've worked on over the course of these last 13 years to build the program that we have today. And my current we serve about 526 people right now through those two programs. That was our number from last year.
Wonderful. It's amazing to see the evolution of the program. It's amazing to see the impact that you just described within the community, and the intersectionality of being responsive to the times in which we're in, of the need that the community has, but also the needs that our participants have. And I think that that's another marker of your leadership, is weighing those two things and trying to find the middle ground there, what kind of program we can continue to offer for the community that is respectful of our learners, but also is respectful of kind of the larger values as a educational landscape that we have. Could you talk a little bit about what have been some of the highlights in your career, different projects that you worked on, either at the college, within your program? You talked about a couple, but other projects that you've been involved with large scale throughout your time in adult education that you might be proud of?
It's a blur.
It's a blur.
Well, at one point, I'm going back now, but part that is not necessarily always mentioned was my involvement with the union. I was a union president in Willow Run, and I think that provides a lot of good insight. I served on a number of task force over the course of my career here, always willing to be part of that. Don't ask me to name them, Patrick, because
there's too many acronyms in education to remember.
Yeah, and whether it be something that's related to the state, back in the day, we would go to Lansing once a month and work on different projects there, or whether it was working with the WISD or one of the school systems. I'm sort of drawing a blank to some of those things because it's just really is the whirlwind. I just try to keep my nose to the grindstone every day, trying to get the things that need to be done day to day, but always with a outlook of what are the possibilities. When I get an invitation to meet with someone about a new project that they're starting in the community, or here at the college, even like I've met with 4 different people in the last 2 weeks about 2 new projects, 2 new grants at the college, and then another grant that has been operating out in the community with Ozone House, and working with potential students that might come into the college, either in our program or directly into the college. And this is a, partnership with Ann Arbor. There's a lot of different levels there. Or SOS Community Center. They have like a parent university concept where we also partner with them and many others to share information about our program, but also an access point for people in the community to know that we're here and willing to serve, them in whatever capacity and wherever they're at that point, whether it be ASL student or a GED student. So
do you have, Bonnie, a quote, a mantra, a saying, or anything that on the days when you're celebrating that you're like, yes, this rings true, and on the days when it's maybe difficult, that it keeps you going or inspires you, or an idea or a notion?
I wish I could think of something good, but there's one that I use for not often, but sometimes. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't drown it. I was like, those are the days, those are the frustrating days, those are the frustrating days. But, every day around here, there's a reason to celebrate something or another. Right now, I'm just in the process of granting scholarships to students who were in our program. That's my next email that's going out, is to financial aid, to say, I'm granting these 5 students who completed our program, who are now enrolled in the college, and they put in an application for the scholarship, to give them each $500. This is
Wow.
aside from their Pell Grants. This is aside from any other funds that they may have. It's just, you know, uh, uh, and $500, that could buy them a computer. It could do a lot of things, but
Yeah.
they can spend that money on anything that they need to go to school. But or they could spend it on housing, or they can spend it on transportation. It's for anything that they need. It's sort of I'm not going to say it's a token of of follow through, but it's a acknowledgement and a recognition that you're on the right path. That's
Well, that's so wonderful. And I've enjoyed our time together, Bonnie, because I know you personally and working alongside you professionally as well, but I'm glad that people have gotten to hear your story and your vision straight from you. No one else can tell your story better than you. And I want to just end by circling back to something that you said at the very, very beginning about always being open to the next opportunity that's there. And I think as you've been talking, I hope the audience as well as myself are recognizing that that has really led you to where you are, and you've always seem to have carried that throughout the different aspects of your career, of just being open, using your discernment, using your wisdom when it's right or when it's not right to act on those things, but always having that openness to serve the community in a wider way, and being and really serving the students that you work with. What do they need, and understanding what their issues are, the challenges, the opportunities that they have. And uh, I just wanted to highlight that because I so respect you and respect your story. And I just want to thank you for spending time with us today, Bonnie.
Well, I really appreciate you doing this. I mean, it's very difficult for me to share information about myself, but if it's going to help, to really expand someone else's knowledge or a way of thinking, I would be very remiss, though, if I didn't say I could not do this without the great team that I have. And one of the things that I really try to stick by are like my old fashioned values, and, being hardworking and being honest and follow through and do what you say you're going to do, those kinds of things. And I try to, although I'm open to other views and always suggestions, I try to surround myself with people that share that passion. And I've been very fortunate to find a couple of people that have been by my side almost this entire time that I've been in this program, that have helped me accomplish these goals. So I cannot take credit for where we landed today without their help.
Well, noted. But this is too about you. So, well, thank you again for taking the time. I'm so appreciative of it. Once again, thanks to Bonnie Truhn, the director at Washtenaw Community College Adult Transitions Pathways Program. And we'll be back again very soon with our next episode. A reminder that you can find all of this information as well as the recording on our website at www.macae.org and on our social media pages at MACAE Today. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.